Hello everybody and welcome back. As always, I am Mateo311 and this is your one channel for everything VR related. Today, we're checking out the Valve Index after 1 year of constant usage. We'll find out if it's still my headset of choice, if I ran into any major issues, and I also have a bunch of tips for all the Valve Index owners out there. So let's not waste any time and jump right into this video. So the Valve Index was the 5th out of 7 total headsets that I have purchased, but cutting to the chase, it is still hands down my favorite one. My other headsets include an Oculus Quest, a Rift S, a PlayStation VR, a Vive Pro, and a Vive Cosmos with the wireless adapter. So the Index is just this perfect combination of comfort, precision tracking, and audio and visual fidelity. But you guys already know that. It's been over a year now and you've most likely seen countless reviews. So I just want to focus on what I've learned over the past year and show you how to increase your overall Valve Index enjoyment. So let's start with the controllers, as this is a hot button item. So at release, we had Clickgate 2019, where the thumbstick would not click from an extreme angle. Even worse than that, we learned over time the thumbstick becomes prone to drifting and outright failure. Now my controllers lasted roughly 400 hours of playtime before beginning to experience any issues. Now I do know people who experienced issues much sooner, but again, this is just anecdotal and I couldn't tell you how frequent these failures actually are. In my case, I did start to experience drift, so in first-person shooters, I would just be slightly gliding forward when I wasn't touching the controller. Now in most cases, you can quickly fix this by adjusting the dead zone on the controller, but if it continues to increase over time, Valve will send you a replacement. And it appears the newer controllers have an upgraded thumbstick, so hopefully this issue won't reoccur in the future. Now besides the thumbstick issue, the controllers are absolutely excellent, and the finger tracking adds a nice additional level of immersion to your VR experience. Now one quick tip for finger tracking: if you notice the tracking is not accurate, adjust your hand to make sure you are holding the controller correctly and then begin to strum your fingers. After you complete this a few times, tracking should correct itself. Okay, so let's move on to comfort. Now while the Index is easily the most comfortable headset I have worn to date, comfort is overall subjective and it might not be perfect for you. One complaint that I hear pretty often that I've never personally experienced is a high heat level. So if you feel like your face is heating up from the screens, you can start by removing the front plastic cover. This will help the Index vent a little bit and may reduce the overall heat level. You can also extend the IPD relief, which will create more space between your face and the screens, but you will be sacrificing the increased FOV that the Valve Index has. So if you don't want to sacrifice the FOV and you need a more aggressive option, you can pick up a Chilldex or a Mini Dex Duo. Now these are fans that will plug into the USB port right in the frunk of the Valve Index. I've only experienced the Chilldex, and I can tell you it does a good job of removing heat from the headset, and it's quiet enough that the Valve Index microphone will not even pick it up. Since I did not need a heat solution, I opted for the much cooler Mini Dex LED mod. This thing just makes the Index look even more awesome. Now another common comfort related issue is some users have an inability to stay in the visual sweet spot of the screens. While the Index is not overly heavy and is well balanced, the weight of the Index may cause it to pitch forward a little bit too much on your face. And if you just simply press on the screen a little bit, raising it up, you'll notice everything gets clearer. Now if that sounds like an issue you're experiencing, I recommend a counterweight from StudioForm. It has the right weight balance to pull the Index back a little bit, but also not make you feel like you've added a lot of additional weight to your head. The weight has some nice cushy foam padding and it velcros on in 2 seconds. I've tested it and it is completely comfortable, but again, this is not a product that I personally need. So I just have one more tip for the front panel. If you don't end up using a fan or super cool LED mod, you can stuff your lens wiping cloth in there so you have it whenever you need it. And yes, I did 100% steal this idea from Thrillseeker. Okay, so let's move on to another common failure point of your Valve Index, and that's the cable. Now I will say the cable lies much better than any of the HTC products I've owned, but the Index cable also just so happens to be the only cable I also broke. Now I can't really attest to the overall durability of the cable itself in comparison to competitor headsets, but I can say that after one good tug, it was damaged. I accidentally walked all the way across the room, forgetting the valve index was on my head, and the resulting pull put a nice bend in the cable. My next VR experience was filled with static, popping sounds, and the audio dropping in and out. I was able to take the tension off the cable, adjust it a bit, and it started working again, but in the meantime I contacted Valve support and they once again shipped me a cable right away. Now obviously it's common knowledge you want to protect the cable, prevent it from bending at a hard angle, and I actually have a tip for you guys to avoid this from happening. I've started using adhesive cable management mounts, one on the side of my computer desk and one on the back of my chair. This prevents the cable from taking a sharp angle when it comes out the back of the computer, especially if you give it a tug. And the one on the back of my chair is an absolute blessing when it comes to playing seated VR games. It's just really frustrating when playing seated games, having the cable fall to your side, bunch up behind your back, or even accidentally roll over the cable. So this one little cable management adhesive can help resolve that issue. Now if you're looking at my cable and wondering why it has red tape on it, well, I have a cable pulley system, something I highly recommend to people who are frequently annoyed by the VR cable. I do not leave my headset attached to the pulley at all times, so the red tape is marking that indicates where I reattach it to the pulley system. Now I personally use the Kiwi pulley system, that's the Pro version, which you can pick up on Amazon for $30. It does take some adjusting to get it to feel right, but it is worth the overall effort. It'll give you some nice freedom and allow you to run circles in game like a crazy person. If you are running circles like a crazy person, I do recommend you get an application like FPSVR because it has an option that keeps track of how much you're tangling the cable. There are other applications more dedicated to just cable management, but FPSVR brings so much more to the table. It'll let you know how your games are performing, if you're experiencing reprojection. You could adjust settings and trigger hotkeys on the fly, and here's a few examples of how I use it. I will play a game as normal with FPS enabled but the display turned off. When I'm done playing, I can go back and check the performance stats. What was my average FPS? And how often reprojection turned on. When I'm in the middle of a game and I want to record something, I will go to the FPS utilities and tell it to click Alt F9, which enables shadow play for Geforce video card owners. I use FPS to add a small indicator in the center of my play space. So if you're playing a game that has you moving around a lot, you just look down at the floor and you know how to recenter yourself. So if you have your Guardian set to a lower than normal level, which I frequently do to help stop it from breaking immersion, you might end up actually not seeing your Guardian and hitting the wall. FPS can actually add audio cues, so when you're getting too close, you'll hear a beeping sound. This was an absolute lifesaver when the Guardian was bugged in The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. Okay guys, that was all my tips and tricks. And just to quickly summarize everything, I still love this headset. It is my favorite headset. Yes, my controllers broke. Yes, I damaged the cable, but Valve replaced them right away. I personally do not need anything to make this device more comfortable, but if it's too hot for you, you can get a Chilldex. If it pitches forward too much, you can get a StudioForm counterweight, and I recommend you use cable management stickies on your desk and chair. Consider getting a pulley system, and the FPS VR application is absolutely fantastic for gamer and content creator alike. I really hope this video helped you guys out. Obviously, a lot of these tips apply to other headsets, but I still currently recommend the Valve Index above everything else. Okay guys, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys on next time.